Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all suffering and joyous beings everywhere. So delighted to be with you this evening. Thank you all for coming. We're studying Bhagavad Gita, and we left off here. What fashion the Lord's form has, who shall conceive of it? He dwells beyond delusion and the dark of Maya. On him let man meditate always, for then at the last hour of going hence from his body, he will be strong in the strength of his yoga, faithfully followed. The mind is firm and the heart so full, it hardly holds its love. Now, this last, the heart so full, it hardly holds its love. For those of you who haven't already taken a look at the book, Love Poems from God, I highly recommend it. It is a collection of 12 saints across the millennia, across the traditions, and every one of them underlines this, mentions and emphasizes that the practice of God relationship, God realization, results in a heart so full it hardly holds its love.
Excuse me, Brother Shankara, what chapter? We're in chapter 8, right?
You know, dear, I didn't bother to look it up. It's either 7 or 8. I'm not certain.
Okay.
Does anyone know? Is anyone aware of where in the Gita we are? I believe it's chapter 7, Keith, but I wouldn't swear to it. I don't think we changed chapters yet. I think we're just about to, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's chapter 8.
Say it again, please.
It's chapter 8.
It is chapter 8. Okay, very good. Thank you. Numbers is my weakest suit. I don't keep track of numbers well. The heart so full it hardly holds its love. Thus he will take his leave. And now with the life force indrawn utterly, held fast between the eyebrows, he goes forth to find his Lord, that light giver who is greatest. Now I will tell you briefly about the nature of him who is called the Deathless by those seers who truly understand the Vedas. The Deathless, of course, is the divine presence, the causeless, the beginningless, the deathless. Devotees enter into him when the bonds of their desire are broken. What does this mean? Swami Prabhavananda said, desire is nothing more than a restlessness of the mind. Desire is nothing more than a restlessness of the mind. So that when we still that restlessness, when we calm the mind, we break the bonds of desire, and slowly and slowly, we sink into silence. And this is what it means by devotees enter into him. His name is silence. And so as we enter that great silence, because the bonds of desire are broken, because the mind is calmed, and when you enter into him, as he says here, the solace, the bliss, the understanding is measureless. To reach this goal, they practice control of the passions. When a man leaves his body and departs, he must close all the doors of the senses. Let him hold the mind firmly within the shrine of the heart and fix the life force between the eyebrows. Now, these words mean nothing to us until we begin to seriously practice meditation for some years. And by that, I mean at least 2 or 3 years. Then we begin to understand what it means to hold the mind firmly within the shrine of the heart. You bring your mantra or visualization or whatever it is that you're using, you bring that to the heart. That is the mind, the mind. The mind in its calm state, you bring it to the heart. Why? Because the heart is the abode of the divine. There is a sense of unity there that cannot be experienced anywhere else. And the life force is the prana. The life force is that which animates you, and it is the divine presence itself. As it says in the evening prayer, breaker of this world's chain, speech cannot hold thee, nor mind, yet without thee we think not nor speak. That is the life force. The life force. Let him hold the mind firmly within the shrine of the heart and fix the life force between the eyebrows. Then let him take refuge in steady concentration, uttering the sacred syllable Om and meditating upon me. Now, these are specific instructions to be followed at the time of leaving the body. How will we be able to do them when we leave the body? By practicing them before we leave the body. Being very, very clear that Krishna's instructions are to be followed as closely as we possibly can. Ultimately, you begin to develop your own way of being with the divine. Again, if you read these wonderful poems in this Love Poems from God, you will see that each one of these saints, though they tell a similar story, they tell it in their own sweet, inimitable way. Such a man reaches the highest goal when a yogi has meditated upon me unceasingly for many years with undistracted mind. I am easy of access to him. So this is what I'm saying. We get ready to do this at the point we're leaving the body. All of us are going to leave this body. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's going to come to its close. So how are we going to leave? Such a man reaches the highest goal. When a yogi has meditated upon me unceasingly for many years with an undistracted mind, I am easy of access to him because he is always absorbed in me. As you practice meditation for a long time, patiently, perseveringly, you find that the character of your everyday life changes. And this is what he means, to be absorbed in me. You find the divine presence is always nearby, so to speak. Great souls who find me have found the highest perfection. They are no longer reborn into this condition of transience and pain. So that's your motivator. If you are weary, if you are absolutely sick and tired of this conditional existence of transience and pain, if you say, I really just don't want to do this again, then Krishna has given you a system of instruction. You can find a teacher who will give you a mantra or a visualization technique or Shaktipat or whatever it is, whatever tradition you go to. Each of them has their way of giving you something to concentrate on. That concentration leads you to a condition where you will no longer be reborn into this condition of transience and pain. All the worlds and even the heavenly how this happens, I don't know. I'm sorry. All the worlds and even the heavenly realm of Brahma are subject to the laws of rebirth. So if you want to go to heaven, nothing to keep you from that. But just know that that means you will be reborn. It is duality. Even the realm of Brahma is subject to the laws of rebirth, the heavenly realm of Brahma. But for the man who comes to me, there is no returning. So before we go on, are there any questions or comments about this prescription that Sri Krishna has given us? Anything that you want to see amplified, or anything that you would like to comment about your own experience and see what others have to say? Anything at all?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Swayam.
on page 93, in the footnote, it says that according to yoga technique, the yogi must employ a special method of leaving the body at death, etc. By here, does the yogi mean the advanced yogi who leaves the body at will, like
No,
samadhi,
no,
or for any
no,
ordinary
no,
person?
no, Swayam, no. that may come to one who practices Raja Yoga. That this is a psychic power. It's leaving the body and recreating the body, reanimating the body. Like Shankaracharya did when he was challenged in that debate, and he left the body and inhabited the body of a king, and then learned about what he needed to learn and returned to his body. No, this is about someone who has practiced meditation until they have learned to still the mind, hold the mind in its stillness at the heart, and fix the energy of their existence, the divine presence that exists within them between the eyebrows. So it doesn't mean just the advanced yogi. It means Swayam Tyagi, if she practices. Is that clear? Is there anything more?
The only other question I think is what about somebody who slips into a coma or something like that? Would that?
Someone who slips into a coma because of some medical condition, who can say what is going on with them within that coma? Swami Satprakashananda, who headed the St. Louis Center for years, at the end of his life, entered into a coma. And of course, he was tended to lovingly and carefully for some years. And finally, he departed the body. I don't know, I don't remember just how long it was. But his brother disciples, he also was a disciple of Swami Brahmananda. His brother disciples, like Prabhavananda, did not mourn for him. That's all I can tell you. They did not think that something bad had happened to him. But if you want to know more about that, I suggest you ask Swami Sarvadevananda. It's above my paycheck. I just don't know the answer to what happens to us in a coma.
Thank you.
The desire is to be able to leave the body in full consciousness. But just how much consciousness is there in a coma, we don't know. I mean, for a yogi like Satprakashananda. Good questions, very good questions. But this business about being able to leave the body at will, that is a yogic power, all right. But it is a psychic power. It goes beyond the spiritual aspects of this, as described by Sri Krishna, apply to all of us, not just to those advanced yogis who have developed great psychic powers. And they're rare indeed, I tell you, rare, particularly in this age. Anyone else?
Why particularly in this age? I guess that's a hard question to answer, but.
Is this Aaron?
Yes.
Aaron, it's because it's the Kali Yuga. Because this comes directly from Sri Ramakrishna. This isn't from me. We are so dependent in this age on our senses. He summarizes it by saying dependent on food. In other words, dependent on this external food body and its senses. But the secret is, though the darkness is very deep, it's very thin. Think about approaching what appears to be a black wall. When you come close, you see, oh, this black wall is made of crepe paper. This crepe paper, it blocks all the light, no doubt. But all you have to do to penetrate it is wet your finger and put it against it, and you'll poke a hole right through. This is what Sri Ramakrishna says. It's very dark, but the veil is thin. The veil is thin. He said, shed one sincere tear. Say Ram's name once with utter conviction. You're on the path. So don't be daunted by the fact that this age is we see what's going on around us, for God's sake. The world is in a terrible struggle. But that doesn't mean we need to be drawn into it. We need to do what we can to make a difference. And the best thing we can do is radiate the spirituality of our practice. That is the highest gift that a yogi can give mankind is realization. Because they then pour out this spiritual energy. They are a flaming fire from which everyone else can light their candle. This is Sri Ramakrishna for us. This is Holy Mother. This is Vivekananda, Brahmananda.
Do you believe that it's possible that the darkness in the world today will usher in the light? So to
Of
speak?
course, it's always a trough and then a wave, a trough and a wave. You can see the evidence of the light if you look around as well. There's wonderful, wonderful things happening in the world. Amazing things. Great things. But right now, the darkness in terms of being in our faces is predominant. We have to look beyond it to see the rest. What happened to George Floyd has been going on and going on and going on and going on and going on as long as this country has existed. What happens now is the cover is being pulled away. Why? Because we have these wonderful devices. As somebody said, nothing has changed. It's just being photographed. So we're aware. Keith spoke so movingly, maybe last Sunday, I don't remember, about, I think it must have
Yes,
been.
it was Sunday. I remember that.
About what it's like to be a Black man and what it's like to have a 21-year-old son in this time. It's gruesome, but it's nothing new. We just know about it now. We just know about it. If you want to know how much this has gone on, just go and listen to the song, Strange Fruit. Billie Holiday singing the song. You can find it on YouTube. Billie Holiday singing the song, Strange Fruit. And it's about lynching. So the darkness is deep, but the light is shining on the effects of the darkness in ways that have not been the case. We now have this incredible communication mechanism. We're using it right now this evening. So this is something new. I mean, if you talk to newspaper reporters, old people who've been doing their job many years, oh, they'll tell you this is nothing new. This is nothing new. We just are seeing it now. Very good questions there. Anybody else?
To extend what Aaron said on the opening reading on page 92, the dark of Maya, on him, with a capital H, let man meditate always, for then at the last hour of going hence from his body, he will be strong in the strength of this yoga faithfully followed. How, in these very emotional times, how can we meditate on God always when we're trying to do our career and deal with all these troubles and problems? And if we feel that we're lacking faith, how
Be,
can we develop that faith?
be patient, be persevering. And what did Jesus say to us? I mean, he poured out his heart in this statement. Ask and ye shall receive. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. If you ask your Father for bread, will he give you a stone? If you ask for a fish, will he give you a serpent? Ask, ask,
Ask. Okay.
plead. Sri Ramakrishna says, people shed jugs of tears for name, fame, fortune, family. How many shed a tear for God? How many plead? Oh God, give me thy grace. Give me thy wisdom. Give me thy understanding. Give me thy courage. Give me thy resilience and thy fortitude. And keep praying that until you're weeping. Now, is this something that is just for you and me? I sat in the room and listened to Swami Swahananda do it. For himself? No, not for himself. So that he could be for his disciples. The darkness is dense, but thin, thin. This is what Sri Ramakrishna promises. Just read the opening. Just read the opening of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the first chapter where M encounters the Master, and what the Master says to M. He said, you receive a letter. The letter says, do this. You do that. You don't need another letter and another letter and another letter. Just do what you're told. Krishna gave some very explicit instructions in these last stanzas, in these last paragraphs. But never forget what Jesus said, and never forget the parable of the prodigal child. When we turn our face toward home with humility, we don't even have to have love in the beginning. Just the humility of understanding, oh my God, I can't do this on my own. I've screwed it up. I'm going home. I'm going to ask my Father, take me as your servant. I'm no longer even deserve to be your son. Please just take me as your servant. What happened? What? The father said. My son has come home. Bring the finest robe. Bring the family signet ring. Bring the finest sandals. Kill the fatted calf. And I tell you, you will find this same story again and again in that book, Love Poems from God. What happens when people with sincerity, and you know, Saint Teresa of Avila says, you know, I wept through the night. You know, it isn't like putting a quarter in the slot, pulling the handle. I wept through the night, but then she tells you what happened. We are not what we appear to be. The divine presence is just waiting to be uncovered. And I know it tries our patience, Brahmadas. I know it tries our patience. This is why Swami Prabhavananda said lovingly, the chosen ideal is you yourself, no different. Learn to feel that living presence. And then he said, be patient, be persevering, and live in expectation that the coverings will be removed. Your mind will become calm, and you will sink into that silence. And yes, you're absolutely right. All the things that are there for us, career, family, all of this. But if we say to those things, I am going to offer myself to you because you are the divine presence. I'm going to be with you, the people you work with, the people you work for, your family members, whether you ever say a word to them or not. I'm going to be with you as your servant because you are the divine being. This is what Swami Vivekananda calls the secret of work. And it transforms our relationship to the world. Very good, Brahmadas. Anyone else?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Swayam.
I just remembered the story of Valmiki. I guess sort of like the prodigal son. Valmiki was a dacoit by name Ratnakar who used to kill people, rob, waylay, and then I think he accosted sage Narada one time, and then he said, reminded him instead you sit down and take the name of Rama. And because Ratnakar had committed so many crimes, he could not even say the word Rama. So Narada said, well, just say Mara. If you repeat it oftentimes, it becomes Rama.
Mm-hmm.
But then he took it sincerely and sat and repeated it, I believe, for like many, many years or decades. And the anthill covered him, and that's how he came to be known as Valmiki. So just again, you know, the sincerity of believing and then the practice will yield results.
And what happened? Why did he receive this gift? Because he asked. Narada didn't push it on him.
Mm.
Yeah, he said, Mara, 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 like your name. Gita, Gita, Tyagi, 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 Tyagita. It becomes Gita. That's what Sri Ramakrishna says. So yes, very good. You know, Jesus's story, Jesus's parable is even more inspiring because it didn't take decades. You know, the fellow spent the decades degrading himself to the point where he felt like coming home. So by the time he was ready to come home, he was ready to be received. Very good. Anything else? Okay. What time has it become? Oh goodness, we've got lots of time. There is day also and night in the universe. The wise know this, declaring the day of Brahma 1,000 ages in span, and the night 1,000 ages. Day dawns, and all those lives that lay hidden, asleep, come forth and show themselves. Here we are. Day dawns, and those lives that lay hidden, asleep, come forth and show themselves, mortally manifest. Here we are. Night falls, and all are dissolved into the sleeping germ of life, the sleeping germ of life. Thus they are seen, O Prince, and appear unceasingly, displaying with the dark and with day, returning back to the new birth, new death, all helpless. They do what they must. Why? Because of their karma. Not because they're bad people, but because of the karma that comes with being manifest. But behind the manifest and the unmanifest, there is another existence which is eternal and changeless. This is not dissolved in the general cosmic dissolution. It has been called the unmanifest, the imperishable. To reach it is said to be the greatest of all achievements. It is the highest state of being. Those who reach it are not reborn. That highest state of being can only be achieved through devotion to Him in whom all creatures exist and by whom this universe is pervaded. So we exist by the will of the divine. Behind our manifest appearance is this unseen being that we reach through the practice of concentration, contemplation, concentration, and meditation. I show you two paths. Let a yogi choose either when he leaves this body. The path that leads back to birth, the path of no return. There is the path of light, of fire and day, the path of the mind's bright fortnight, and the 6 months' journey of the sun to the north. The knower of Brahman, who takes this path, goes to Brahman he does not return. There is the path of night and smoke, the path of the moon's dark fortnight, and the 6 months' journey of the sun to the south. The yogi who takes this path will reach the lunar light. This path leads back to human birth at last. These two paths, the bright and the dark, may be said to have existed in this world of change from a time without any beginning. Is it clear what that means? This is eternal. These two paths, what are we talking about? We're talking about duality. We're talking about time, space, and causation. So these two paths have existed eternally from a time without any beginning, which our mind can't understand. But if we just feel of it, we get some sense. It rings true. By the one, a man goes to the place of no return. By the other, he comes back into human birth. No yogi who knows these two paths is ever misled. In other words, you can't be deluded into thinking the one is the other if you practice. No yogi who knows these two paths is ever misled. Therefore, Arjuna, you must be steadfast in yoga always. The scriptures declare that merit can be acquired by studying the Vedas, performing ritualistic sacrifices, practicing austerities, and giving alms. Notice these are all outward things. Studying the Vedas, there's the student, that which is studied, and the studying. Performing ritualistic sacrifices, practicing austerities, and giving alms. But the yogi who has understood this teaching of mine will gain more than any who does these things. The yogi who turns within, away from the dualistic activities. The yogi who understands, the yogi who has understood this teaching of mine will gain more than any who do these external things. He will reach that universal source, which is the uttermost abode of God. So, whoever it was, Ashley, it said we were studying chapter 8. Indeed, that's what we were studying, because here we are now at chapter 9. Anything at all before we go on? Okay. The title of this is the Yoga of Mysticism. What does mysticism mean? We'll find out. We'll find out what the true meaning of mysticism is. Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, since you accept me and do not question, now I shall tell you that innermost secret, knowledge of God which is nearer than knowing, open vision, direct and instant. The experience of the inward turned mind. Nearer than knowing, open vision, direct and instant. Understand this and be free forever from birth and dying with all their evil. Now, what does it mean? Birth and dying with all their evil? Well, as Patanjali points out in the Yoga Sutras, even those things that are pleasurable to us also bring us pain. Why? Because once we've had a pleasure, we yearn for it again. Once we possess something, we're afraid of losing it. Right away, we're trapped. We're entangled. So this is why we avoid attachment and why we replace that which is pleasurable with that which is good, choosing the good over the pleasurable. So that slowly and slowly we purify our lives. It doesn't mean it's wrong to have pleasures. It just means that you're in danger when you do. You're in danger of attachment, addiction, fear of loss. The minute you're in fear, there's no possibility of real love. How can you love God if you're afraid that you're going to lose whatever it is that you treasure? So that's what he means. Understand this and be free forever from birth and dying with all their evil. This is the knowledge above all other. Purifier and king of secrets, only made plain to the eye of the mystic. Great is its virtue, its practice easy. What? Let's listen up. Great is its virtue, its practice easy. This man is brought to truth eternal. Those without faith in this my knowledge shall fail to find me, but they must turn to the mortal pathway, subject still, that back they must turn. Those without faith in this my knowledge shall fail to find me. Back they must turn to the mortal pathway, subject still to birth and to dying. This entire universe is pervaded by me in that eternal form of mind, which is not manifest to the senses. Although I am not within any creatures, within any creature, all creatures exist within me. I do not mean that they exist within me physically. That is my divine mystery. You must try to understand its nature. My being sustains all creatures and brings them to birth, but has no physical contact with them. Is there any question about that? Is this clear to everyone what Krishna's getting at?
I have a question.
Yes, Swam.
What does he mean? Although I am not within any creature, all creatures exist within me. I am not within any creature.
Mm-hmm.
That part is a little confusing to me.
Well, this is something that you will only understand through the practice of concentration, contemplation, and meditation. we are not what we seem to be. We are not, though the scriptures say that the Atman dwells here, it's not in a physical sense. It's not like there's a place in you where the Atman is, if you could go there with your medical instruments, you could find that place and there would be the Atman. It's like scent on the air. You can't find it. You can't contain it. It's subtle. So it's not that Krishna or the divine presence physically exists within you or me or anything. But as you practice, you find that there is this living presence that you come to understand is not you, instead you are it. That's what Swami Prabhavananda meant when he said, and it's not going to be understood intellectually, Swami. No matter how we try, we have to experience it. This chosen ideal is you yourself, not in a physical sense. The chosen ideal is you yourself, no different. Learn to feel that living presence. That's why we can shed this suit, this action and experience suit, and lo and behold, there is within that a subtle body. So subtle that it can't be weighed when it leaves the physical body. There's no difference in the weight between the body of a person who's dying and the person who's dead, but the subtle body is gone. Even that, the divine presence, though it is with that, it is not contained in that. Though the subtle body could not live or exist without it. It's something to be experienced. Very good question and very reasonable. Anybody else? Anything else?
When he says, I am not within any creature, all creatures exist within me. I'm not sure what he means by that.
No, of course not. I just said, Brahmadas, it's not something that can be grasped intellectually.
Mm.
It's a truth, and Krishna is telling the truth, but notice it is a mystical truth, not an intellectual truth. And so what happens is, as we practice, we come to understand, not in an intellectual way, we come to realize that I am that. as Meister Eckhart said, the eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. But it's not a physical eye. It's beyond physicality. And so it cannot be spoken in a definitive way. It cannot be understood or contained intellectually, but you can grasp it. And it's when the mind becomes still enough that it's no longer distracting you. You find that it's there, it's always been there, it always will be there. It is the truth of your being, and all this mind and its wanting to understand and categorize and classify is just that. A categorizer, a classifier, an understander, a storyteller. So I know it's frustrating. It's even frustrating for great swamis. Anything else? Thank you, Brahmadas.
Brother Shankara?
Brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
First, Haima.
Thank you.
Okay, Liam, go ahead.
what's up?
And Haima.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Comment.
Go right ahead.
All right. I just have a quick observation on what you said about the comment about birth and death and all its evil. And so my observation is based on, I guess, a definition that I have for evil. So I'm not saying this is some, I'm not trying to declare any truth. This is my perspective on what evil means. And I kind of generated this from, I'm no expert, but I studied a little bit of like mystical, esoteric symbolism. And one thing that they mentioned is like, like an upward facing triangle means like upward energies, and the inversion means like, downward, lower bestial focus energies, right? And if you look at the word evil, it is an inversion of the word live, right? E-V-I-L-L-I-V-E. So I define evil not so much in a way of like, like the Wicked Witch in Cinderella or whatever, but like, like anything that is disruptive to life. And, through the mere virtue of having a birth and death cycle that interrupts, eternal life, which is, like I said, we mentioned earlier, God or Brahman, like, it's eternally living, right? It was causeless before time. So anything with the experience of that eternity of life being interrupted is, through that definition of the inversion of life, evil.
That's beautiful, Liam. As a matter of fact, it mirrors something that Swami Vivekananda said. Life is expansion, contraction is death or evil. That which minimizes, that which contracts us, downward facing, is evil. That which expands us and gives us greater life, as Jesus said, and have it abundantly.
Lovely.
Okay, it's a little after 9 o'clock. Anything else? It's Haima, yes, please.
One comment. Through meditation, you gain calmness. As you continue to do, that's what you mean, right? And then you also feel some divine power over time after practicing meditation. Is that true?
Yes, what happens is the mind becomes calm.
Extremely calm, exactly. Right.
And as it becomes calm,
Yes. You
It
find
is no longer covering or distracting you from that which was already there. The supreme power, as you said, the divine power. It's always there. It is what animates us. It is like the electricity in a light bulb.
Mhm. Exactly. That's what I was trying to clarify with you.
So
Sometimes you can even tell what is going to happen in your near future at times with that power.
that's a psychic power.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's a psychic power. Remember, anything that exists within time, space, and causation.
Yes.
So this feeling, this intense experience of the divine, it doesn't give you powers. It doesn't give you. It just gives you a sense of yourself that is entirely different
Yes.
than. But when you have those experiences of knowing something in the future, it's a spontaneous manifestation of psychic powers. It comes with meditation.
Comes with
Swami Prabhavananda said, "Oh, you'll have those experiences." He said,
yes.
When you do," he said, "experience it once to satisfy your curiosity, and then let it go. Do it once so that it won't haunt you always. So you won't wonder, well, what would that have been like?
Yeah.
Go ahead, do it one time."
And also,
I mean, we talked about Don Juan Matus. Don Juan Matus could read the future.
yes.
This was clear. He and Don Gennaro both. They knew the future. And so, but it was psychic power. It was just a way of being hunters, not hunters for power that could sustain them and what they did.
Yes.
But it's not spiritual. It has nothing to do with the spirit. It's just we are much more than we think we are in terms of our capabilities. As long as we're distracted by the things of the world, by all of the stuff that normally distracts us, we don't even learn the powers of who we are, let alone what it is that animates us, that what we truly are.
Yes. We
Thank
feel
you.
pain. We feel the pain of the surroundings that we are experiencing, but we don't suffer much when you do meditation. That's been my experience. You don't suffer it all the time, but you feel pain. You feel others' pain. You feel the.
Sri Krishna is very clear about that. He says yoga
Yes.
is the breaking of contact with pain.
Exactly. Okay. That's what I wanted to clarify.
Yep, good, thank you.
That's very good. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else, dears? All right. Thank you all for coming. We'll wind it up here. Oma Satoma Satgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya, Adi Moiti. O beloved Lord, lead us from thy lesser truth to thy highest truth. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beings everywhere. So good night, everyone.
Good night, Brother Shankara.
Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. Go in Mother's loving and protecting embrace. And we'll see you again sometime soon. The next opportunity will be Saturday morning, I guess. So again, thanks for coming. It's always so good to see you.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Thank you, Brother Shankara. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.